Alright then, so now we have the bare bones of a website, but we need to actually add some content or data now. In our case, this is going to be recipes, which we will eventually list on the homepage right here. Now this data is going to be created and stored using Contentful. Now Contentful is what's known as a headless CMS, meaning it's a CMS without the front-end templates attached to it. That's what headless means. So it still gives us a place to create data, much like a normal CMS like WordPress does, but then it doesn't pump that data into a template or a theme or anything like that. It just stores it for us, and we can reach out from our website to fetch it. So in our case, we'll be fetching the data from our Next.js application. Now Contentful is completely free to begin with, so sign up for a free account first of all by clicking on Get Started and then choosing this option right here, sign up for free. Now I've already created an account, so I'm just going to log in, and I created this account with Twitter, so let me just use Twitter to log in. And then once you've signed up or logged in, you're going to see this message when you first create an account. And basically, it's going to ask you, what do you want to do? Do you want to develop content-rich products, or do you want to create content? Well, we just want to create content. So I'm just going to click on this one right here, and it prepares us a basic default space. So what I'm going to do is just wait for this to complete. And then I'm just going to click on Get Started. So to begin with, Contentful will give you something called an example project space, which is what this is. Now, a space in Contentful is basically a content hub for a website. It's a place where we can create content, upload images, etc. And it can contain multiple different content models or types, for example, blog posts, recipes, or something else. Now, in the free account, you can only have one space at a time, but if you upgrade, you can have more. But you generally only need a single space for each website that you make. And sometimes multiple websites can share the same space if they're all using the same kind of content. So to begin with, let us delete this example space. And to do that, you go to Settings, General Settings, click on that. And you want to scroll down here and delete the space and all its contents. And you want to type in the name of the project, which is this thing right here, the example project. So let me copy this and paste it in here, and then click remove. And that's going to delete this space for us. And then what I'm going to do is add in our own space. So what we need to do is scroll down and just add the community space, which is free. So select that. Now I'm going to give this a name, and I'll say just add Marmite, which is the name of our website. You don't have to call it this, it's entirely up to you. And you can either create an example space with some dummy content inside it, or just an empty one, which is what we're going to do. So once it's done, go to My Space Home. And this is basically where we're going to add all of our content and stuff for this space right here. Just add Marmite. Anyway, now we have this space, we want to add some content. Now, in order to do that, we need to create what's known as a content model. And that basically just describes a bit of content. So we could have some content which is a blog, right? And a blog would have certain different fields like a title and maybe some kind of snippet for the blog, and the actual blog content, maybe some tags as well. So that would be a content type with those fields, or a content model as it's known in Contentful. Now we want to create a content model for a recipe. So just click on content model to begin with, and then add content type. So this is us now creating a content type. We need to give it a name, and I'm going to call it recipe, and it also has an API identifier. So this is the content type when we're working with our code and we're trying to get all of the different documents or different items from a particular content type. You can give it a description as well if you like. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to create this, and then we need to add some different fields to this content type. So let's start by adding a field by clicking on this button. Now there's loads of different data types we can use. We can see rich text or numbers or date and times, locations, media, booleans, JSON objects, or references. Now to begin with, I'm just going to do a title, so I'm going to click on next, and this is for the title of the recipe. So I'm going to call it title, like so. Again, we get a field ID automatically. Now down here, it can either be short text or long text, and this is good for titles, the short text, so we'll keep it as that. And then I'm going to create and configure, because there's other things we can do. So we can say over here, validation, and if it's required, we just tick this field. If it has to be unique, we can tick this field. Now I'm going to make it unique because we're going to base our slugs, the paths in the URL for each individual recipe, on the title. And I want each slug to be unique. Therefore, I want each title to be unique. So I'm going to make it unique. We can limit the character count if you want. So for example, I could say it needs to be between 3 and 50 characters long or something like that. And then we can say here, title must be between 3 and 5 chars long, like so. So if a user tries to enter into the field something that doesn't sit between 3 and 50 characters long, then it's going to show them this error message right here. We can match a specific pattern, and that's to do with regex if you want to. I don't want to do that, or prohibit a specific pattern, and then we can accept only specified values as well if you wish. Now, I don't want to do any of that, but if you go to appearance, now we have different appearances for this field. So I just want single line, but I want to show you can also use a URL, drop down, radio buttons, or slug. So let's just save this, and that is the title field. Okay, so let's also add one for the slug. So this again is going to be a text field, and I'm going to call this slug, like so. It's going to be short text, and then create and configure. So I'm going to go to validation, and again, this is going to be unique and it's required. Then I'm going to go to appearance, and I'm going to choose slug. Now, when we choose slug over here, what's going to happen is when we have a title, it's going to take the title and it's going to auto-generate our slug for us using hyphens instead of spaces. Now, I do want to go to validation, and I want to click on this match a specific pattern, and I'm going to paste in here just some regex. Now, when we're creating a slug, yes, it's going to automatically create it for us based on the title. However, a user can change it, and if they change it, I want it to match a specific pattern, whereby we can't have spaces, we can't have special characters, but what we can have is A to Z or 0 to 9 and hyphens between words. So that's all this regex pattern means. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about regex. That would take me another couple of videos to explain. But if you want to copy and paste this, you can, or pause the video rather, and just copy this into your match a specific pattern. Again, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just going to place it in there. All right then, so now we've done that, I'm going to save this field. Now, the next field I want to create is going to be for the thumbnail. So let me click on media right here, and it's going to be one file that they can upload. So thumbnail, and this is going to be the image of the recipe that we list on the homepage. So let me create and configure. If we go to validation, I'm going to say this is a required field. We can only accept specified file sizes. We can only accept specified file types. Let's do this, and I'm going to click on image because I don't want them to upload something like a spreadsheet for a thumbnail. That makes no sense. We can add an error message if we want to. I'm not going to do that. And again, we could limit the specified image dimensions if we wanted to. Again, I'm not going to do that because I just want to kind of power through this. Now, if we go to appearance, there's not much to choose from right here. We can add some help text, and there's also these options right here as well. I'm just going to save this. All right, cool. So the next one I'm going to do is for the featured image. Again, it's going to be media. Now, the featured image, let me just type this in first of all. It's going to be like the banner image that we see on a recipe details page. So it's a longer, thinner one. If we go to create and configure, again, I'm going to go to validation and say required field. I'm going to click this one and choose image. Then I'm going to click on save. Awesome. So next I want ingredients. Now, this is basically going to be a list of items. Again, we click on text, but this time we can click on list right here. And basically what that means is when a user is typing in content, it's going to group the items together in a list. And when we retrieve that data, we'll get an array of text fields, basically. Okay, so for the name of this, I'm going to say ingredients, like so, create and configure. I'm going to go to validation, and I'm going to say required fields. Then I'm going to go to appearance. And because we clicked on list, it gives us these three different options. So we can have this tag option, a checkbox, or this list option right here. I'm going to keep it as tag. And basically what that means is after every ingredient they enter, they press enter and it adds it to the list. We'll see that later. Anyway, click on save. All right, so we've got 2 more. The next one is going to be for the cooking time. Now this is going to be a number because it's going to be the amount in minutes. So cooking time like so, and it's just going to be an integer. Create and configure, validation, required field. It doesn't need to be unique or anything like that. If you go to appearance, we're just going to keep the number editor. Press save. And then the final one is going to be the method. So basically the details of how to cook this particular recipe. So this time it's going to be text, but rich text instead. And that means that basically they can format the text. So let me call this method, first of all, create and configure. And right here we have different formatting options. Now, when it's blue, it means the users can use those. So I don't want them to add H1s, H2s or H3s because they're reserved for basically the template we're going to create, but they could add the rest inside the rich text editor. Now I'm going to take off link to asset because I don't want them to add images, but you could allow them to add images if you want to. I'm going to take off asset right there as well. This is, by the way, a link to an asset. This is to embed the asset. Okay, so let's go to validation. It is a required field. I'm not going to enter into any of the rest. I'm just going to go to appearance. Nothing much to change there, so I'm just going to click on save, and I think that is pretty much it. So if I click on save now, this is our content model saved. Awesome. So once we have that, if we want to add a recipe, we can go to content, and right here it says now add recipe. If we added different content types, it would show buttons for that content type as well. So I'm just going to click on add recipe. In fact, before I do that, I want to upload some images that we can use in our recipes. So first of all, I'm going to go to media, and then I'm going to click on add asset and multiple assets. So this is basically a way to upload a load of different images or media that we want to use in our content. So what I'm going to do is just drag in a load of different image files. What I'm going to do is click on upload for now, so we have all of these different images. Alright, so now that's done, what I'm going to do is go to the content page, and we want to add in a new recipe. So let's click on add recipe. So for the title of this one, I'm going to say cheesy Marmite toast, like so, and you can see it's actually not auto-created the slug. So let me go back to the content model for a second, click on recipe, and then if we go to the settings of the slug, go to appearance, yep, make sure this is clicked on slug right here, then save it. And then click on save up here. So it needs to be set to slug for it to auto-generate. So I mustn't have done that properly. So let's now go back to content and add a recipe. So this recipe is going to be cheesy Marmite. And you can see as I'm typing now, this is auto-generating down here. Toast. Okay, now the user can change this. So they could add ABC on the end, but they can't add special characters. It's not going to allow this, okay? So it's the structure now of a slug. I'm just going to go back to cheesy Marmite toast. All right, so now we can add a thumbnail. So I'm going to go to add existing media because we already uploaded a load of stuff. Now, there's 2 images for each recipe. One is a thumbnail, one is a featured image. Now, the thumbnails are the ones with a T on it. So I'm going to click on this one right here, toast T. And then down here, I'm going to say add media, add existing media. And this time it's toast with an F on it for featured images. So let me click on that and it should upload this one, or rather reference this one. So the ingredients for this are going to be cheese, press enter, it adds it. Then it's going to be bread. Then it's going to be Marmite, like so. All right, so cooking time, let's just say 10 minutes. And then for the method, I just want to add in a load of lorem ipsum. So I'm just going to paste this in right here. And notice this is a rich text editor. So we can make stuff bold if we want, like this, for example. We could make stuff underlined if we wanted to. So I could take this and make it underlined. We could also add in headings. So I could, for example, copy something like this right here. I'm just going to paste it down here. And I'm going to make this into a header by going to this and say heading 4. All right, so this is all rich text. And when we reach for it later, we're going to output it as this kind of text in our project. Anyway, so let me now publish this. That's all of the fields filled in. Let me publish this, and it says here, it appears that you've linked to 2 assets that haven't been published yet because they're both drafts. That's okay, we're going to publish anyway. And then let me go to media, because all of this is uploaded now, but we need to actually publish the images. So I'm going to check all and then click on publish so that this works. If we didn't do that, then we wouldn't be able to retrieve those images from our website. Anyway, if we go to content now, we can see we have this first content item, cheesy Marmite toast. So what I'm going to do now is just add in a few different recipes, but I'm going to speed it up so that you don't have to watch me type all this out. Alright then, so now we have 4 recipes. We have veggie Marmite skewers, Marmite potatoes, avocado and Marmite toasty, and cheesy Marmite toast, which, by the way, all of these I would highly recommend. So they're all published now, and you can see that by this green little published icon right over here. Now you can unpublish them if you want by clicking on this and then clicking on unpublish, but if you do that, again, if we try to reach out for this content, it's not going to allow us to have that. So next up, I'm going to show you how we can reach out to Contentful from our Next.js application and grab our content and show it in a browser.